Welcome to Wrong Time Watch. My name is Kevin, and today we're looking at the Tudor Black Bay 58 and the Laurier Neptune per your request. Unfortunately, I don't have the Guild Dial Laurier Neptune, and as I do really like the way that watch looks, but I did purchase this used, so this is what we have for the comparison. In the Tudor Black Bay 58, I did purchase new from the authorized dealer. This is actually my first luxury watch purchase from an AD. Usually I buy watches second hand, so that was an experience. I have a video about that posted a few months ago. So since I purchased this from the AD, I did of course pay sales tax in Michigan, which is 6%. So that brought the price of this watch to $3,922. And the Neptune MSRP is $499. Like I said, I bought this one used. So the Tudor Black Bay, of course, has the in-house movement. It has the MT502 movement, which is good for 70 hours of power reserve and is accurate to -4 plus 6 seconds. And as you can see, it does have a smooth sweep, 8 beats per second. And the Laurier does have 8 beats per second as well. This is using the Miyota 90S5 movement, which has a power reserve of 42 hours, and the accuracy rating is between -10 and +30 seconds. From what I've read, they're usually better than that. They just kind of have a wide range in case something is off. You don't go back against the movement. Anyway, display. Not a display case, but the case back on this is pretty plain, just has some detail around the perimeter here. And then the back of the Tudor Black Bay is also not a display case back, so you can't see the movement either. It does have a little more information around the perimeter of the case here. Tudor Geneve caliber manufacturer. Tudor Geneve caliber manufacturer. So there's the same thing around there twice. So still a pretty plain case back. So the styling of these is not totally the same. This actually compares better to the Omega Seamaster 300 Master Chronometer, but unfortunately I don't own one of those. I was thinking about buying one, but the $6,500 price point kind of put me off. I really do like that watch, so I like that watch. I would say as much as this one, maybe more. I don't know. Maybe one day I will own that Omega 300, Omega Seamaster 300. But that's, again, $6,500 or 13 times the cost of this watch. So anyway, back to the comparison here. This does have a Hesalite crystal with an aluminum bezel insert. And the Tudor has a nice box dome sapphire crystal. But this does also have an aluminum bezel insert. Now you would think for that price I mentioned, well, MSRP is $3,700. You would think for that price you would get a ceramic bezel insert, but it kind of goes against the vintage theme of this watch, which is also why it has this rivet bracelet. However, I really do like the styling of this watch. I like the look and overall feel of it, which is why I purchased the watch. We like how the light hits the Guild hands and the indices, and you can see just not a sparkle, but you can see the light there. So very neat. I really like no date movement watches. Just a lot easier to set the time and go. You don't have to worry about the date. You don't have to go around twice if you're an AM or PM. It's very simple, classic looking. I like the symmetry of the dials. This one has it as well. I do wish the handset was a little larger on this. It seems a little small. I would like it to be a little bit thicker. The Tudor, of course, has applied indices. The Laurier, they're painted on. They are both 200 meter water resistant rated. Laurier is, of course, not Swiss made. Let's zoom in on this dial as well so you can get a feel of that. The dials are pretty plain on both of them. You can see the distortion of this crystal. There's some lint on here, or what's going on with this. I really don't wear this watch all that much. There we go, looks better now. But you can see the distortion of the plexiglass there. It's a nice warm look and feel as well. You can, as soon as you feel that, you can feel it kind of, it's a little bit grippy. You can tell that it's not mineral crystal or sapphire. So very nice. Bezel action, this has 120 click. Maybe a little bit of back play. But, you know, overall it's not a bad feeling bezel. And the knurling is somewhat similar to the Tudor Black Bay here. It's a little bit thicker of a bezel, but very, very similar look. Also, I'm sure you've noticed this has drilled lugs. And most of the case is brushed except for the chamfer here. The bracelet is all brushed. So speaking of the bracelet, they both do have the female end link, which is great for comfort on wrist. The Laurier bracelet, I don't know if I'd say it's more comfortable. You would think it'd be more comfortable because this definitely articulates a lot more than the Tudor bracelet. All of these links are independent. But as far as feel on wrist, I really haven't noticed that much of a difference in comfort level. I know the edges on this are a little bit, they're not going to cut you, but they are a little bit sharp. But it's not going to hurt you or anything. It's just a little bit of finishing detail on this Tudor Black Bay. Is it worth 8 times the price of the Laurier? No, I don't think so, but it's definitely, you can just feel that this is a quality watch when you pick it up, when you touch it. All the edges are rounded. You know, it looks like a sharp edge. It has a little bit of a radius on here. Everything just feels so smooth and quality on this watch. I'm not sure what they do exactly to get that. The links, you know, have a little bit of play, but really nothing too crazy. The end links, a little bit of play in the case, but I mean really a small, really small amount. Now if you can compare that to the Laurier, I know I'm getting really nitpicky here, but I guess you kind of have to be to compare a $500 watch to a $4,000 watch. So these links do flex a little bit more. In and out, there's a little bit more play. End link fit a little bit more loose, but I mean really not that much. I don't even think you can fit a piece of paper in here. In that gap is what I mean. One thing that is different is the end link does fit better on the Tudor in this direction here. You see how the end link right here kind of overhangs the case. I mean, in all reality, it's not a big deal. It's just, you know, pointing out the minor differences between these two watches. Now, if you look at the Tudor, the end link is contained within the case. Looks a little more intentional. And this does have more polishing. You know, the side of it is polished. The chamfer is polished. But then the top of it is brushed. The sides are polished. It does have these fake rivets. I'm really not a fan of that, but you know, that's the way the watch comes. So that's how I got it. I could have purchased this on the leather or their NATO strap, but I always tend to buy watches on the bracelet, and then I can more easily buy an aftermarket strap versus trying to get a factory bracelet for these. So, as I mentioned, each of these links, all of these 3 pieces are attached together. They don't articulate as much as the other bracelet. Also, the links are larger, but it still does fit very well on wrist. Okay, let's look at the clasp here. No, I know some people use, which reminds me, I didn't look at the bezel. So bezel action here, it's hard to explain, but it definitely feels quality. Each click is positive, tactile. You can hear that. Now this is a 60 click versus 120 click, but it doesn't sound nearly as tinny. If you can hear this or not. Each click, it just sounds nice. It feels nice. It just feels very solid. And it's not a hard bezel to turn either. It is quite thin, as I mentioned. It's very easy to turn. I don't think it's going to turn unintentionally. Well, I can do it with one finger, but I'm really pushing on it here. And I really like that pop of red with the triangle around the loom pip. Okay, back to the clasp. Anyway, what I was trying to say is I know a lot of people use the bezel as kind of like a fidget spinner, but on this watch, it's the clasp for me. This ceramic ball bearing system, there's just something about it. You can just kind of push it a little bit, and then you can feel it engage, especially with this safety clasp. I find myself playing with this sometimes, just pushing it. Then you can feel those bearings engage, and just push it down the rest of the way. I don't know, there's something special about this. Yeah, I find myself just playing with it sometimes, but you can see the ceramic bearings right there. So these push in as the clasp comes by, that bearing, and then that engages in these little slots here on the side. And then there's two more on the inside as well for this portion of the clasp. This is all milled. I'm pretty sure this portion is milled as well. I don't think that's stamped. So looks very nice. It does have 3 micro adjusts, polished on the side and brushed on the bottom here. You can see a little bit of, there's some little scratches on here, and I'm not sure how that gets on there because usually I only wear this with a long sleeve shirt to try and protect the clasp, but I guess it's not protecting it quite enough. So I'm a little disappointed in that, but you wear a watch and these things tend to happen. All right, let's look at the bracelet on the Laurier. This does again have solid end links with the female shape here, and it folds over right away. Very nice. And these links definitely feel great on wrist. So again, all brushed on the sides, brushed here, brushed on the sides, and then the chamfer here is polished. I've been seeing these type of clasp on a lot of watches now. They work fine. They look pretty good, but the pushers kind of cheapen the look of the watch to me, just by the nature of how these work. It's not going to fit in here all that great. Just doesn't look that good to me, but I mean, it's very functional. It will definitely secure the watch to your wrist. I don't ever see a situation where you're going to accidentally bump both of these and have it pop off. So it does look a little bit cleaner than having a safety clasp, but even the Rolex Submariner has a safety clasp as well. And this does have 3 micro adjusts, and it is signed. This portion is stamped, and then this part here is milled. Yeah, it does look cheaper than the Black Bay, but I mean, you can expect that. Okay, let's go over the dimensions, and then I'll get both of these on wrist. And then we'll close out with my final thoughts. Actually, after my final thoughts, we'll take a look at the loom. I have not compared the loom of these to each other. I know the loom on this is good, and the loom on this is good, so we'll see which one comes out on top. So Tudor Black Bay, lug to lug, 47.7. They both do have sign crowns, by the way. Really like the Tudor Rose. I like the Tudor Rose better than the Shield. So anyway, lug to lug, 47.7 on the Black Bay and 47.2 on the Laurier Neptune. Case diameter on both of these is the same at 39. Laurier is slightly thicker. Well, actually it's a millimeter thicker, 13 millimeter thick for the Laurier and 12 for the Black Bay. But I would say that is due to the acrylic crystal. So not a big deal for a dive watch. 13 millimeters is not all that thick. And 12 is kind of in the middle. My Glycine Combat sub is nice and thin at 10.5. Maybe I'll compare these two watches, this with the Glycine Combat sub. Anyway, lug width on both of these is the same at 20. And they both do taper down to 16. So that's a very comfortable bracelet on wrist. In the past I didn't really care about bracelet taper, but now I do. But bracelet taper is key to comfort on wrist. And again, both of these are comfortable on wrist. And then crown size, 6.7 on the Tudor and 7.4 on the Laurier. I think the Tudor is just perfect, and the Laurier is a little bit too big. Kind of looks cartoonish, but I would rather have it be a little bit too big than a little bit too small, but just right is better yet. So let me know your thoughts on that. So let me get both of these on wrist, and then we'll go over my thoughts. I've already shared some of them. So I have a 6.5 inch wrist with a 52 millimeter wristband. And again, lug to lug on this is 47.7. So just a great wearing watch, great looking watch. I'm not planning on ever selling this one. So let me zoom out, and then we'll get the other one on wrist, and then we'll zoom back in with the other one on wrist. The other one being the Laurier Neptune. So here we are zoomed out for a little bit different perspective. All right, let's go to the Neptune. So this watch is very good looking as well. For obvious reasons, it's pretty much a homage to the Omega Seamaster 300 Master Chronometer. I have so many watches in the collection. I'd like to keep them all, but it just doesn't make sense because I don't really wear them enough. But this would definitely get more wear time if it had a sapphire crystal. Yeah, I know you can just polish it with poly watch, but I don't know. Maybe one of these days I'll wear one of my plexiglass watches more often. So there we go. Yeah, this really is a nice watch. Here we are zoomed in. Would be nice if the fit of the end link was a little better. If this was sub flush to the lugs there, or if this was inboard of the lug sticking out, it might look a little bit better. I know they use this bracelet on all their watches. They use it on the Falcon. They use it on the Neptune, of course. And then the Gemini, the name escaped me for a moment there, but their chronograph is the Gemini with the seagull mechanical hand winding movement. So, let me change this back over here. Is the Tudor Black Bay worth 8 times the cost of the Neptune? No, it's not, but just like getting the extra horsepower in a car, you really pay for the extra effort that goes into manufacturing a watch like this. And you know, there's watches even much more expensive than this. The Rolex Submariner, for example, is, let's see, what is that, $8,100, so more than twice the price of this. And that Seamaster 300 Heritage model that I mentioned is 65 divided by 37, 1 3/4, 1.5 times the cost, whatever that works out to be. But I don't think you know, someone in the market for a Tudor Black Bay 58 would then just say, you know, I'm going to get the Laurier Neptune instead. So it's nice to have options. $500 for this watch, I think, is a pretty good price. Yeah, it would be nice if it had sapphire. Maybe the price should be less because it doesn't. But you know, that's how the prices are these days. Let me know your final thoughts, or let me know your thoughts. I'd appreciate it. And those are my thoughts. And let me pause the video, and then we'll come right back with the Loom. All right, so of course, Tudor Black Bay on the left and Laurier Neptune on the right. Tudor Black Bay definitely has better Loom than the Laurier Neptune, but you can expect that for the price difference. So I'll let this run for a minute, and then I'll close out the video. As always, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.